Burn that damn juice!
Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas. This is Inside Arkansas Live.
And welcome into Inside Arkansas Live here on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. I'm your host, John Neighbors, alongside Andrew Ellis, and appreciate each and every one of you for making us a part of your afternoon. This afternoon, as you have finally made it, folks, it is Friday. It's game day eve, and we're going to talk about everything heading into the sports weekend, not only with the Razorbacks and Ole Miss, but we're also going to look ahead to the college football weekend, look at the scenarios for Arkansas football, and get into all the greatness that's going to happen, break it all down, give some predictions, look at some SARACEN bets, especially when it comes to this, and get to your chats as well. But Andrew, it is officially Friday. How are the vibes today on this Friday?
Vibes are great, man. Hard to complain. We've made it to the end of the week once again, and Fridays I feel like hit different during football season, and you kind of know that when you go to sleep tonight, you're waking up to a full slate of college football. Dare I say, John, we are about, a little bit more than 24 hours, I guess 30 hours away from the biggest game of the Sam PIttman era. Dare I say?
Listen, I don't think that's a crazy stance. And I'm not saying it in a way of being over dramatic. I'm saying it in a way of knowing what it could lead to. You know, if you lose, which is the scenarios we're going to talk about, folks, but if Arkansas loses, hopefully no Razorback fan completely jumps ship. I guess it depends on if you got the brakes beat off of you and you're, like last year, if that type of game happened again, okay, I could kind of understand it. But if you lose a close game, not saying it's right, not saying everything's fine, but I don't think many Razorback fans just be like, season's over, jump off the ship or anything like that. But I believe and I agree with you in saying that if you do win this game, as far as the outlook, as far as the future, as far as the confidence, as far as all of that, it really kind of turns everything on its head to a full reversal of, oh, now, hey, look at this. And maybe these other teams that you got in front of you, maybe not look so good. Hey, we still got some home games. It just really impacts the entire outlook, not only just of the season, but for Sam PIttman in general.
Well, and when you're undefeated, which Arkansas 2-0, they are undefeated. When you have not seen your team lose, it's just very easy for that possibility of your imagination to run wild and kind of think about what this team can accomplish. And of course, some of it's unrealistic, but when you haven't seen your team lose, it's like, you, as a fan, you're not looking for ways that your team could lose. And so if Arkansas continues that, wins tomorrow, is 3-0, starts off SEC play on the right foot, you can now look at the rest of the schedule with all these possibilities. If you lose, it doesn't ruin all of that. Like, there's still a lot in front of you. You could win out and win the national title or whatever, but it's like the realistic, that bubble gets kind of burst a little bit of we're undefeated, we haven't lost. And I think there's a lot of fans who are convincing themselves, hey, year two, Talen's a different guy. Sam PIttman's a different coach. This is a different O-line, different mentality defense, different receivers. This is a different team. If they lose to Ole Miss, and definitely if they do it in the fashion they did last year, it definitely ruins that mentality. But I feel like there's a lot at stake. We spoke about it yesterday, and I know everyone does the take of this team could go 4-8 or 8-4. But if Arkansas loses tomorrow, it's going to be very hard to talk yourself into 8-4, 9-3. Like, it just is. If they win tomorrow, it really isn't that hard. I still wouldn't necessarily be there where I'd be like, hey, yeah, they're going to go 9-3 and be a playoff contender. But you could at least make that case. And so I don't know if there's many times that we truly have one game that has that much stake of, like, if they win, I can talk myself into X, Y, and Z. And if they lose, I can see a lot of weird things happening. I can see Sam PIttman getting fired. I can see all this. And it doesn't all get determined tomorrow, but I think in terms of how we as fans and observers view this team and view this season, a lot hinges on tomorrow for sure.
So let's lay it out. And this is something we want, everybody to give their thoughts on, because this will be y'all's reaction too. So in your chat and everything, give us your reaction, because there's only so many scenarios, generally speaking, that can happen in a football game. Just as far as the final result. So let's start with like more of the negative and lean towards the positive. If Arkansas just gets destroyed, like we alluded to a little bit, if they get destroyed, it's not competitive. For four quarters, just doesn't even look like they're an inept team, and they have bad play by Talon Green. The defense can't stop a nosebleed, as Bart Scott once said. Just really bad. How does that change your feelings about the rest of the year? Because you have 9 games left. You would have 9 games left. One SEC game, and you're 2-1. So it's not like you're going to go and completely be a 3-9 team or whatever. I don't think it's that case. But what would be your reaction and feeling about the outlook if Arkansas got destroyed on Saturday?
So I wouldn't necessarily go straight to, hey, this is a 4-8, 5-7 team that sucks, necessarily, although who knows, maybe if I see it play out a certain way, I'll feel that way. But I think the ceiling on what this team could accomplish would have to be drastically lower. Like if we see Taylen Green look similar to the Taylen Green we saw in SEC play last year, who, by the way, was a dangerous quarterback, but not necessarily a guy that's going to consistently string together good drives against good defenses. If I see him really struggle against this Ole Miss defense tomorrow, which wasn't dominant against Kentucky by any stretch of the imagination, that kind of makes me think, okay, what's that going to look like against Notre Dame? What's that going to look like against someone like Tennessee? Or what's that going to look like even against a Missouri or an LSU or a Texas? So I would start to really have doubts about if Arkansas's offense doesn't look good tomorrow, what does that mean for the rest of the season? And if this offense isn't going to be good consistently, what does that mean for the defense where we have all sorts of question marks? And if it goes out that way, then I would definitely be kind of thinking about that. So if Arkansas gets just thoroughly dominated tomorrow, I would start doing the opposite of looking at some of these other SEC games and saying, damn, what does that mean for them if they look bad in this matchup?
Yeah, I would think that, well, first off, it would be epically disappointing. It wouldn't be like, I told you so. Because even then, none of us think that Arkansas is just going to get destroyed. But there is always that possibility. I didn't think they'd get destroyed like they did last year, but they did. So if that happened, it would obviously put a huge damper on everything. And it would start to really make me wonder, not only about the wins and losses, but about, okay, did this team just have their confidence ripped from their soul? Like is it something that they're going to start jumping ship or feeling like, oh, PIttman or Petrino or Travis Williams, whoever, you ain't it, you're awful. Are there problems in the locker room? Is there finger pointing? Does PIttman say something that he probably shouldn't say in the post game? Be like, well, this is what happens when you get all that money to pay for good players. Just something. It could really be a lot more than just a bad loss. It could turn into losing the team, and that would be my fear. I'm not saying it would for sure happen that way, but it would be a fear of the lost confidence, especially early in the year where you're feeling good right now. I mean, if you're Arkansas, you're feeling good. If you're the players and the team, you're feeling good right now. And I think you're going in with confidence. And if that type of thing happened, you'd be like, wow, all that I believed, all that I felt just got ripped, and we're actually not any good. So that would be my fear. But taking it to the kind of the next step, Arkansas still loses, but loses in a close one. And it can always be in different ways, folks. It could be the high scoring affair in overtime. It could be, 20-17. Just as far as a close loss, back and forth, hard fought battle. How much does that change the outlook on the season?
It would change it a decent amount. Like, I feel like the difference between getting blown out and the difference between losing close, especially when you're on the road. Like, I'm not sitting here saying, let's be looking for moral victories here. Like, I don't think there's going to be many Hog fans, if they lose by 1 to Ole Miss, who are going to feel a more moral victory of like, you know what? We competed. We were close. I think it would also make it frustrating because we've seen Arkansas be in this spot before. Your season is ultimately determined by what you do in close games. Because not every, you're going to play some teams that are better than you. You're going to play some teams that are worse than you. Most of the teams on your schedule are within a small enough range. And Ole Miss, if it winds up being a close game, and I think we all agree it will be, is one of those teams. Oklahoma State last year, we didn't realize it in the moment, wasn't one of those teams, but we've seen Arkansas in this spot before. So if they lost, it would be very disappointing. I think there would be a lot of fans who would kind of have the win taken out of their sails. I would still look at the rest of the schedule and see many opportunities for Arkansas to be competitive, but it would definitely change the viewpoints of how we view this whole thing. And I still think that 8-4, 9-3 talk would probably be over with if Arkansas lost in any form or fashion tomorrow.
I would be basically of the belief that, okay, well, this looks like kind of what I predicted, like not to say, oh, I'm right. Haha. It's more of, okay, what I think could happen and predicting a 6-6 season. It looks like that. Like it would look like a type of thing where, hey, this team is probably a 6-6 team. Again, we could see them go 7-5, 8-4, and I'd be completely wrong for sure. But we're talking about just in the immediate aftermath. I would be like, well, they are who we thought they were. They're not a horrible team. They're not trash. They're not an embarrassment. They're not anything like that. They're just not there yet. They're not to that point of Ole Miss, to that point of anybody else. Because I know it's tough to win on the road. So, you could throw that into the mix and say, well, if it was at home, it'd be different. But that doesn't matter. You gotta play on the road sometimes. You can't play all of your games at home. and good teams win games on the road. And for all of Sam PIttman's faults, as we've always had fun talking about, his teams more often than not play better on the road than they do at home, weirdly, in a lot of cases. So it wouldn't ruin the season for me. It wouldn't be this, oh man, what an embarrassment. This is trash. Get everybody out of here. It wouldn't be that, but it would certainly be like okay, well, sucks, but it's kind of what we thought. It's kind of what we thought at this point. So, but we'll continue to talk about the positive sides, because I think that this is a lot more fun to talk about the positive sides on everything. But I want to remind everybody, Hickey and Whole Law is one of our official sponsors here at Inside Arkansas, but they're also our official law firm here at Inside Arkansas. That we know that all these cases that you may have to deal with in your legal life, don't do it alone. Don't do it with some of your buddies that they're like, hey man, I watched Law and Order once. I know what I'm doing. Don't do that. Have the professionals, have the best in the business. Hickey and Whole Law, that's what they do. They have offices across the entire state of Arkansas: Fayetteville, Fort Smith, Little Rock, and Mena. Whether it's divorce and custody cases, criminal cases, civil litigation cases, personal injury cases, estate planning, they do it all. So give them a call today and have them help out with you today. 479-434-2414. That's 479-434-2414. You can also visit their website at Hickey and Whole Law, and you can scan that QR code right there on the screen. You're going to take you right there. It's Hickey and Whole Law. Things are about to get better. Okay, Andrew, so let's talk about the more fun stuff that people want to mention. You got the side of Arkansas winning, all right? Winning barely. And when I say barely, I'm talking about winning by a last-second field goal by Scott Starzik, which I hope he does and plays better than what he did in our simulation last night. That was terrible. You missed it, folks. That was Arkansas won 13-0, but you just need to go watch it if you haven't. It's quite a journey. But say if that happens, Arkansas wins on a game-winning field goal. They win in overtime, which is not out of the realm of possibility. They end up, having a defensive stand, or maybe Austin Simmons throws a pick late, just something like that, where it's in the final 2 or 3 minutes of the fourth quarter, still in doubt, but Arkansas wins. How do you view the rest of the season and the outlook if that happens?
So I think, I said that there's a difference between losing big and losing small. I think in terms of winning, there's not as much of a difference. Like, it would be different if Arkansas won by 1,000, but I think if they win by 1, 2, 3 game-winning field goal, like you said, it doesn't matter. When you're on the road in the SEC against a team that was projected to be better than you, and a team that even still is like a touchdown favorite over you, I certainly wouldn't nitpick too much. There would be a part of me, John, that would look at Ole Miss and say, is it possible Ole Miss sucks? Because I think last week against Kentucky, I'm not saying they sucked, but I think people watched that game and looked at those two teams and thought, these are not two of the better teams in the SEC. So I think there would still be some of that in the back of our heads of like, how big of a feat was this? Did they really beat a top-notch team? Like, Ole Miss went 9-3 last year. Did they beat a 9-3 team here, or did they beat a 7-5 team? We could have that conversation, but all the dreams would still be alive, John. Everything would be thrilled. We would be talking ourselves into how this was the best win of all time, and they looked awesome. Hell, we watched them win the worst way possible on that simulation yesterday, and I was still like, hey, I saw a playoff team there. I would still look at the rest of the season with a lot of optimism. I think we would also do the thing of, hey, it was ugly, wasn't always pretty, but they won on the road in the SEC. They can get better. And so they're 3-0, and there's still room for improvement, and they're going to need to improve, but they're 3-0. Dreams are still alive. I could still see that case for 8-4, 9-3 if they win by 1 tomorrow.
See, I could too. I could too. And I would look at it to where, first off, I'd be thrilled. Like you said, it doesn't matter how you win. If you win, I'd be pumped. And it's mainly because we know, this isn't baseball or basketball where you can look at a close win against the team, even if you didn't play well, and be like, well, here's the things. But in football, especially because of the less amount of games that you have of just 12, and in the SEC, knowing how it's tough and going on the road at night, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. And this is one of my favorite examples that I'll always bring up, because, I always like saying that people don't, if you have a great result at the end, people don't remember the regular season struggles. I think back to like that 2011 football season that Arkansas had. And you won 11-2. You won the Cotton Bowl. You finished number 5. It was arguably one of the greatest seasons Arkansas's had, at least in recent memory. But you know what people don't remember? How poorly they played against that Ole Miss team with Houston Nutt, where they almost lost. That Ole Miss team that went 4-8. You almost lost that game. Or you going up against Vanderbilt, which I think that was the year Vanderbilt with James Franklin was there, but they still ended up going 5-7, and you were down 17-0, and you had to storm back, and you needed a missed field goal by them, a chip shot, missed field goal by them to win. You don't remember that. You remember going 11-2. That's what you remember. But I don't think, and hopefully nobody, I know social media and all that, but back then was sitting there being like, well, after that Vanderbilt win, just be like, oh, this is just terrible. Or, hour after the time you went 11-2 and beat the Cotton Bowl, be like, dude, that was a great season, but that Vanderbilt game still pisses me off. It's like, no, you won. And so that's how I would be about it, where we could talk about our criticism or something that looked good or something that looked bad. I mean, we could break it down like we will, but I'm not going to stand up here and be like, this is even though you won, it's awful, because you're not expected to. I think it'd be different also, Ellis, if Arkansas was the number one team in the country and Ole Miss was picked to finish dead last, and then you barely beat them. Because I think then even then you could be like, okay, but you're the underdog. Saracen, I think, opened up as a 10-point underdog for you. Now it's moved to 6.5, something like that. So even then, I take the win no matter what. But if it ends up being close, my outlook for the season would be, hey, like you, is Ole Miss good or they suck? They're in the bad spot. But I've also be like, well, maybe Arkansas is just good. Maybe they are a good team. I'd have to play that mind game with myself a few times. So we have that. Now let's talk about the scenario that may just get off the rails, but so much fun. What if Arkansas beats Ole Miss like Ole Miss beat Arkansas last year, where from the jump, it is not even close? Like you can tell from quarter one, quarter two, quarter three, quarter four, who the best team on the field is. Taylon Green is cooking them. He's throwing all over the field. He's staying upright and protected. Wide receivers are catching everything. Mike Washington goes off. The Travis Williams defense is getting after Austin Simmons. They're getting picks. They have to go to their backup quarterback because they're in a pretzel. All that stuff. You just beat the brakes off of them. I'm talking about a 42-14 victory, something to that extent. What then?
So, John, last week we talked about these games and these moments that you sometimes don't realize it, but the perception, big picture of your program is changing on this day. And we didn't know when Arkansas was going to Fort Collins in 2018 that we were about to see the first huge red flag of the Chad Morris era. There's been some times where we didn't realize when Arkansas played Ole Miss in 2022 that Arkansas was about to whip Ole Miss's ass and sort of make us rethink how we felt about the program in that moment after they had just lost to Liberty. You never know sometimes when you're going into a game that will change the perception of your entire program. I think if Arkansas whipped Ole Miss's ass on Saturday, this would maybe qualify as that. And sometimes we have these games that feel like monumental moments, and then we look back and they weren't that monumental. Like I think of when Texas beat Notre Dame to open a season one year, and everyone did the Texas is back thing, and they end up going 6-6 or something like that. Like this does happen. But for fair or not, Lane Kiffin and Sam Pittman are connected. They were hired the same offseason at their programs. As an Arkansas fan in college at that time, I was all in. I wanted Lane Kiffin. And when he didn't come to Arkansas, I was devastated. And so those two will always be compared. And Ole Miss has had more success than Arkansas under Lane Kiffin. Like, there's no doubt about it. But you look at the personal matchup, 1-1, it's been pretty even. Arkansas's whipped their ass. Ole Miss has whipped their ass. They've had some close wins on one side, some close wins on the other. You had the Matt Corral game. If Arkansas went out there and whipped Ole Miss's ass tomorrow, this particular season, we'd say, man, Arkansas is in a much better situation than Ole Miss. They're trending up. Ole Miss is trending down. And I would start there looking and say, man, Lane Kiffin, you spent all this money, you've had all this talent, you've done all this, and you won some games, you had some good years, but here we are in 2025, and you're looking like you're about to go 5-7, and Arkansas might go 8-4. It's like, damn, is there really that much difference between Arkansas and Ole Miss as programs? We would start having these conversations, and I think nationally, a lot of people, if Arkansas wins tomorrow, no matter what, people nationally are going to look at that and say, wow, that's impressive by Arkansas. A lot of people nationally are calling for that. If Arkansas makes it look easy tomorrow against Ole Miss, it completely changes the way that the lens that people view the Razorbacks through. And someone like me, by the way, who is very critical of Arkansas's offseason and very critical of what Arkansas did in the transfer portal and sort of kind of thought it was weird that Arkansas just kind of let all these guys go to SEC programs, I would look back at that and I would say, man, tip my cap. Like, I'll eat my crow. Like, that is, Arkansas went out there and had a plan for the roster they wanted. They went out and got it, and they have a better football team than a lot of these teams that I thought that were doing a better job than Arkansas in the portal. all of that would be the conversations we'd be having. And I also think this fan base would be at an all-time high for confidence. We would be 100% talking about playoff, talking about that Notre Dame game, talking about how if they win that one, they're going to be like favored to make the playoff. It would very much change the viewpoint of what we think is possible in this season, and also just how we view the program and the state it's at right now.
Well, I want to stick a pin in the impact, or at least the viewpoint of Sam PIttman, because I think that's a different conversation to have than compared to the season. But just looking at it from the perspective of the season outlook, it would be extremely difficult to me, and people can say it's the fan in me or whatever, but it would be extremely difficult for me to not start really having the outlook like you laid out of, okay, what if Arkansas might be in a situation to where they beat Memphis and Notre Dame and start 5-0 going into Tennessee. And that Tennessee game, we'll see, because they play Georgia this weekend. They get Georgia at home. And because I think that's also a big impact is how the other teams that you're facing look at this point in time. But if you end up being that team to where, say, if Georgia beats the brakes off of Tennessee, and then you see, which Notre Dame and A&M, you play both of them, but we'll just say that Notre Dame beats A&M because you're going to end up beating Notre Dame. So then you're like, oh, we can do that. And then Auburn, well, I'm not worried about them. Mississippi State, yeah, that's nice and everything, but I'm not worried about them. You start really looking at, could this team go 9-3 and 10-2? I know that sounds absurd to some, but that's exactly what would happen. That's exactly the situation you would be in, because you're like, we've had 3 games this season, and 2 of them were not against any high quality opponents, but one of them was. One of them against an SEC team, which, by the way, has since Lane Kiffin's gotten there, has not had a single losing record in SEC play, by the way. Not one. You went into their house at night, beat the crap out of them. And all that we've seen, because that's all we can go off, is what we've seen. A quarter of the season, you have scored an average of about 50 points, and you have held the other team to not much at all, like 20 points or less. How could you not start thinking about if Arkansas could really do this, could really pull this off? That would be kind of the future outlook for me. And again, I know it's absurd, and I know everyone's inevitable. It's like, all right, but when's it going to come crashing down? Maybe it does. But I'm not going to live that way. I'm going to live in the moment of being like, hey, this team could do it. They could do it. And I would be with you too, Andrew. I'd be like, hey, listen, this situation with the players, with the talent, and how, you lost these players to Ole Miss. That's such a bad look. It'd be like, hey, this roster was put together in a very effective way. You want to call it Moneyballing it or the blue light special. It was put together in a very effective way. And I would give the flowers out. But
I also, before we even continue, John, we gotta remind everyone, these are not our predictions.
Right.
We went through every possible scenario. Arkansas getting blown out, Arkansas blowing them out, Ole Miss winning close, Arkansas winning close. We're just talking about how we would contextualize it. But to your point, John, that's why I feel like, because I agree wholeheartedly, like we would, the way we'd view the rest of the season completely differently. And that's why I said this might be the biggest game of the Sam PIttman era. And I got to be honest, as someone who covers these teams, and I like to think that I know what I'm talking about. I like to think that I go into these games and have some semblance of an idea of what's going to happen. I think that's why this one's so fascinating to me, is because, one, none of us really know. Like, we all kind of have our opinions. We're all going to make our predictions, but I don't think any of us are super confident in, like, hey, if I think Arkansas is going to win by 3, would I be stunned if they lost by 3? No. Would I be stunned if the game got away from them and Ole Miss wore them down late? No. Would I be stunned if Arkansas's offense just scored at will and Ole Miss wasn't able to slow them down? Not really. And so it's like, I can see such a wide range of things playing out. And I can also look at the rest of the season and see such a wide range of things playing out. So I think this is just a fascinating game where, like, anything's possible. And also the stakes of the season are at an all-time high, where there's really not that many games. You go into a game where, it's like, you and another good, like when Arkansas plays Notre Dame, could they win? Could they lose? I don't know. But, like, is the entire season hinging on that game? Probably not. And I don't think that's necessarily the case here. But I think this is just a very unique situation where none of us really know what to expect. Although it does seem Hog fans very, very confident. Like, I think Hog fans at this point would be surprised if they lost.
Well, I'll tell you what, that fits perfectly, because I do want to bring that element up, as well as the Sam PIttman angle. But I want to remind everybody that with our Alumni Hall question of the day, it's presented by our friends over at Alumni Hall. They're the ultimate Razorback shopping experience. where anytime you go in there, you're going to be floored by the amount of great Razorback apparel that they have. You can check it out no matter if it's the nice stuff like the polos. They got things like Johnny O. They got Southern Tide. They got Columbia. They got Cutter and Buck. They have everything when it comes to the high end. If you're one of those types going to the games, you want to dress to impress, they got you all taken care of. Or if you're someone that's big on the jerseys, they got jerseys for you. Or if you're big on the Hawaiian shirts, they got those. Maybe you're big on hats. They have those, and it's for the men, for the women, for the kids. They got tailgate decor. They got it all. So you got to check it out. It's the ultimate Razorback shopping experience. We're going to be there the Friday before the Notre Dame game from 12 to 2 on that Friday. So, hey, listen, and if also you're going to the game in Oxford, stop by there. Get your stuff. Get ready. You can go to 3417 North College Avenue, or you can shop them online at insidearkansas.com/alumni hall. It's Alumni Hall, the ultimate Razorback shopping experience. So for the poll question, it was a simple one today, Ellis. Does Arkansas beat Ole Miss? I just wanted to do a confidence check for Arkansas. Does Arkansas beat Ole Miss? Plain and simple. I'm not surprised by the result, maybe the percentages slightly, but 61% of you say yes, Arkansas beats Ole Miss. Legitimately, I thought it would be higher, just basing it off of what we've seen in the chats. And I talked to some people yesterday. It's like, dude, we're going to win. We're going to win, which I love. I love that. I love the confidence. But 61% of Razorback Nation, to this very accurate and very specific poll, says that's how confident they are that Arkansas is going to win tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm with you in that I thought the percentage would be a little bit higher. Like I would have expected maybe 66, 67, close to 70% just based on the people I've talked to. I have not talked to many Arkansas fans who think Ole Miss is going to win. I haven't talked to many Arkansas media members who think Ole Miss is going to win. I say all that to say, John, and you know, I did pick Ole Miss to win this game. I picked the fourth quarter to be close going into that fourth quarter, and then for Ole Miss to kind of win that fourth quarter and not dominate. They're not going to dominate Arkansas by any means. I don't think they're good enough to dominate Arkansas for 4 quarters, but I think they will like soundly win by somewhere in that 7-12 range, maybe by a 2-score margin. The thing that I keep coming back to, John, is that I just haven't seen Arkansas face adversity this year. And when they have faced adversity, I guess you could say the first drive against Alabama A&M was adversity. They responded well to that. But we talked about it a lot last week. I did not like the way that Talon responded to adversity in that second quarter. I didn't like the way that it took them like a full quarter to kind of find their groove a little bit. And I think the defense, which we've been encouraged by, I think I was really encouraged by the corners last week. They looked awesome. I thought the D-line has held up pretty well. I do not think it's been a super tested unit, and I'm worried what that's going to look like in a 4-quarter game. So me personally, I am leaning towards no. I would not be surprised in the slightest at all if Arkansas wins this game. I wouldn't even really be that surprised if Arkansas won by like 10. You know, like I think Arkansas's offense is going to present a lot of problems for Ole Miss. But I just wonder that Arkansas is going to get punched in the mouth at some point and not really going to have a plan to bounce back when they get punched.
Yeah, see, I want to make this clear because I was telling you before the show started that, or maybe I said it at the beginning of the show. It's hard to keep up. But either way, on my Locked On, I said Arkansas was going to win this morning. That's what I said. But on here in our official updates, predictions for Reagan doing a Razorback update, I had Arkansas losing. And people are going to be like, oh, you don't stick with one, you believe it. It's like, listen, I am not going to come out if Arkansas wins or loses, be like, see, I told you guys, I was right. That's not it. It's just because I am going in my own head, which is a crazy place to be, but in my own head, I am going so back and forth on this game. I can't make up my mind. I could see Arkansas winning. I could see Arkansas losing. I could see so many different scenarios. And given the situation where, say, if Arkansas had lost to Lane Kiffin every year that Sam Pittman's been here, I'd be like, okay, they're going to lose. Because that's how I feel about Missouri, because you lose to them every year, or A&M, because you lose to them every year. But it's not that. You've had success against Ole Miss. You know, you had 6 interceptions against them a few years ago. You beat the crap out of them at home. I mean, there's just so much craziness that goes on. So I'm back and forth on it, and I'm with you. I wouldn't be surprised. And I also want everybody to know, too, and I think I speak for you, Andrew, that with our predictions, we don't care about being right. We would much rather Arkansas win. You know, like if it means us being wrong about our prediction, we're not one of these types that's just well, we'd rather be right on everything than anything else. It's like, no, we'll gladly be, hey, we were wrong, we called it wrong, that's great. But I just really feel like this game could go a lot of different ways. And if you're a Razorback fan that feels confident that Arkansas is going to go in there and win, great. I'm not going to argue with you. but I'm also not going to argue with you if you think Arkansas is going to lose. So all that considered, we talk about the season and the future outlook there, Ellis. Let's look at it from the perspective of Sam PIttman, because let's be honest about this. Sam PIttman, hot seat, not all the fans, not even maybe the majority of the fans, but there's a good amount that don't want him as coach. Felt like he has worn out his welcome. He's not the guy, and they need to move on from him. And there are some, not saying all, but there are some that are even, I hate to even say hoping to lose. Maybe there are some, but just feeling like, hey, if they lose, it's fine because as long as we get a new coach. But if Arkansas was able to, sticking with the plan of blow out Ole Miss, if you're someone that hates Sam PIttman, how do you deal with that? What do you do?
I mean, listen, I understand the mental gymnastics of, hey, I kind of am not sure how I want this to go because I hate the coach and I hate, like Curtis is there with the Cardinals right now where he's like, listen, the Cardinals were eliminated from playoff contention. I'm like at the point where screw them or whatever. But I before the show even started, I saw this comment from Paddlefish that says a buddy at work is going for Ole Miss, so we get rid of PIttman. Listen, I'm not going to tell people how to feel. I just think this is so off base. And the main part about it is, this game alone is not deciding Sam Pittman's job. In hindsight, we may look back and say, oh, Arkansas went 5-7. They lost to Ole Miss. Had they won that game, cool. But if Arkansas loses Saturday, Sam Pittman is not going to get fired. Arkansas is still going to continue to play the season. And I get from a big picture standpoint, but I think when your team is 2-0 and you aren't cheering for them to get to 3-0, that means you have completely lost context. You have completely lost your sense as a sports fan to where you're like too deep and too online. You have completely lost all context. Like at that point, now listen, if it's NCAA basketball and your team is now, you've done the math and you say, all right, we're not getting an at-large bid. We're not winning the conference tournament. Now that we're eliminated from the postseason, I hope they lose out. And so if Arkansas gets to a point where they're 3-5 and you say, all right, clearly, we're not going to the playoff. Clearly, nothing crazy is happening. Now, I hope they lose out so they can fire PIttman. That I wouldn't agree with. I see the case for that. That's perfectly fine. If Arkansas is 5-6 going into the Missouri game, and it's like, hey, if they win this game, they'll keep Sam. If they lose, they'll fire him. And you say, you know what? I'd rather lose Sam PIttman than go to the Liberty Bowl. Again, that's not how I'm going to view it, but I totally respect and understand that. When they're 2-0 and they're got a chance to go to 3-0, that is not the time to be like, oh, I hope that things go wrong for my team. I think if you're at the point where you're hoping that your undefeated team no longer is undefeated, you are no longer a sports fan. You're just a grifter.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I feel exactly the same way. Because, listen, I'm not going to sit here and say that I am 100% all in on Sam PIttman and he's the right guy. He's the man. And anybody that criticizes him or disagrees, you're just a hater and a bad. No. In fact, we have been fairly, and I'm always going to make sure we say that, we have been fairly critical of Sam PIttman in those moments. We're never unfair. We have no agenda. We have nothing against the man. We want him to succeed. But it's also our job to be critical in times of needing criticisms. And so I just could never imagine a time. Like, I'll use this example, and you know this, Ellis. Houston Nutt. I am no fan of Houston Nutt. But my love growing up for the Razorback football team outweighed my hate or disdain for Houston Nutt. And I would always rather Houston Nutt and the Razorback football team win than try to have them lose or want them to lose at any point to get him out of there, especially when you're still fighting for something, because that's what Arkansas is right now. I don't think anyone's predicting them to go to the playoff, and we're not saying they will. But if you beat Ole Miss and beat them handedly, how do you not start getting that into your mind that it could be something? It could lead to something. It's not a situation to where you're 3-3 and then you have a big win to go 4-3. It's not even that. Like, you're still undefeated. You're still perfect. You're getting talked about. You're getting some love from, Scott Van Pelt may have Sam PIttman on his show that night, and it just really elevates everything. And I just could not see or imagine anybody, but I'm not one of those that hate Sam PIttman like some. And I know it's a very small amount, but I try to get into the minds of those. Here's what I would hope you people that out there that hate Sam PIttman, want him gone and everything. Here's what I would hope you would do. Is that you would say credit is do to Sam PIttman and to this team. I'm not saying he's the future. I'm not saying he's the greatest coach. I'm not saying that the season is still going to go great. But I'm giving him a chance. I want to see how this plays out. And I'm going to put down the pitchforks for a second. That's what I hope Razorback fans do that really want Sam PIttman gone.
You used a phrase, John, fighting. You're still fighting for something. And for Arkansas, when you're 2-0, it's early. There's a lot you're fighting for. You're fighting for playoff. You're fighting for undefeated. You're fighting for all this. And obviously throughout the year, we expect that to change what you're fighting for. But, the whole premise, and again, these are two people. I mean, we were, like you said, we were critical. Hell, last year at the end of the year, I literally was like, they should move on. Like, they should make a change. I thought it was time. And then when they didn't, I was like, all right, cool. We'll move on. We'll do whatever we got to do. But so if you think I'm coming from this from a defending Sam PIttman standpoint, I'm not. But what would be the case for wanting a new football coach? Because you want your team to have a chance to win at a high level. You want your team to maybe go to the playoff. You want your team to be nationally relevant. And so you use that term, still fighting for something. Arkansas is fighting for all of that. Does that mean that if they win Saturday, they're going to get all of it? No, but it's like, as a football fan, as a college football fan, what do you want out of your program? You want to be able to enjoy your Saturday, be proud of the product you see on the field, and celebrate a win and have people tell you your team is awesome. All of those things are in play Saturday night. That's all you want as a football fan, is to go out on the road, beat Ole Miss, get ranked in the top 25, have everyone tell you you're great. That would be the case for hiring a new coach. Is you think it's more possible to happen with him, and that's perfectly fine. I'm not even going to argue that. But that is literally right in front of you Saturday. And so it's like, if you're cheering for that not to happen, that's why I think you've completely lost context, where it's like, if you no longer want to have a good Saturday night and have people tell you your team is awesome and have your team accomplish cool things, then what lens are you viewing this thing through? And so I think we're aligned on this very much. And I hope more people kind of understand, like, I'm not saying there's not a time when you can hope things go a certain way for your team. I just do not think week 3, when you're 2-0 and you're playing one of your top rivals, is the time to do that.
Yeah. And the final thing I'll say, because I know we got a lot of things to get to in the chat, and it's been a good conversation, because I think it needs to happen to just prepare, for every scenario that could happen on Saturday. But my thing is, as I look at the college football, not so much anymore, but still there. The college football season is like the NCAA tournament. Because you win game 1 against a 16 seed, does that automatically make you think you're going to win the national championship? No. If you win game 2 against a 9 seed, do you feel like that's automatically going to make you a national champion? No. But when you win game 3 against a 3 or 4 seed, or if you take the opposite and look up top, if it's a higher seed, whatever, suddenly you start to think, hey, this might happen. And that's all that this is going to do. It doesn't equate to anything that you're given anything, but you can't get there unless you keep winning. And you can only win the games that are in front of you. And if you're Arkansas, you're waiting. You are waiting in this game to see, all right, where do we actually stack up? We looked good in 2 games, but where do we actually stack up? And if you beat Ole Miss and beat them like a convincing fashion, there is nothing that anyone can say or hold against you that will make you feel like, well, you still aren't any good because you haven't proven yourself. No, you proved yourself that you're at least worthy of being in that conversation. Some people may be like more of the, well, Ole Miss must suck. Some people may take that stretch, but hey, screw them. You beat them. And until you lose, I have no problems with any Razorback fans feeling like it could be a special season if you just keep on winning.
100%. And to Squealy Dan's point here, he says, seems too early to get into the playoff talks. Even if we blow out Ole Miss, the possibility that they still suck absolutely still exists. Not disagreeing with you at all. We're just talking in the context of whether or not people should want Arkansas to win or lose. Mm-hmm. Obviously, yeah, if Arkansas wins Saturday, we'll be excited. We'll be happy. There will still be a part of us deep down that knows, hey, they haven't done anything yet. There's still a lot to be determined. No doubt about that. I mean, hell, on this very program today, we have said 4-8, 5-7 is still on the table. Like, make no mistake. But I don't think that the fact that the playoff is unlikely and the fact that the playoff is almost certainly not going to happen is a good enough reason to not want Arkansas to win Saturday. And that's really all we're arguing here. We're not arguing the point that if they win Saturday, they're in the playoff. Like, that's not our argument at all.
Yeah. And I know we again spend a lot of time on it, but I also want to say this about Sam PIttman. From my perspective, if this happens, this scenario, Arkansas wins big or just wins in general, I am going to make a point personally to give Sam PIttman credit, because not to say that all Razorback fans won't, but a lot of Razorback fans will give most of the credit to Bobby Petrino or Talon Green, or if the defense plays awesome, it'll be Travis Williams. And those guys deserve a ton of credit. Do not get me wrong. But I can't ever look at it to where the losses you put at the foot of the head coach, but the wins you give credit to somebody else. I am always going to give wins and losses to the credit of the head coach, and the blame goes to the head coach. That's part of the gig. And so if Arkansas does that, I'm going to personally make sure that everyone understands that Sam PIttman deserves credit. You can give love for Petrino. You can give love for Williams. You can give love for everything else too. I'm not saying you can't, but I am going to make sure that the first priority and the first person you give some love to is Sam PIttman, because this dude came under fire, justifiably so. I'm not saying he didn't deserve it. Came under fire, heavily criticized, lost all these players, said some things that we felt like he shouldn't have, did some things, acted certain ways, whatever it is. But you'll have to give him some credit, and I'll definitely do that because he'll deserve it. 100% deserve it.
1,000%. And he will deserve it regardless of what it looks like. I mean, we went through all the possibilities of if Arkansas wins 6-3, if they win 52-0 or whatever, like it's going to be a win, and Sam PIttman will deserve credit no matter what. And I think you touch on something interesting of like, who do we give the win to? You know, in pitching, obviously, or in win baseball, you give it to the, pitcher of record and all that. Who like gets the credit for this win? You know what good teams and good programs don't do, John? That sit there in the locker room and say, you know what, guys, we won the game, but this group was good, this group was bad. Did you really contribute? That's not what winning teams do. They celebrate. It's all a group effort. And, when I was growing up and when I was in third grade, Darren McFadden was doing his thing. I viewed football through that lens of, holy cow, we got Darren McFadden. We got a chance. Darren McFadden can beat LSU. Darren McFadden can beat Florida. Darren McFadden can win the national title. And it's a fun premise. And I think Tom Brady, Bill Belichick is the most popular, realistic conversation we've had of, hey, who gets credit for the Patriots dynasty? Tom or Bill or both, or what's going on? And I just think winning cultures and winning programs do not get caught up in that. And listen, we are not part of that. We can talk about whatever we want to talk about, but I don't think Sam or Bobby or anyone in that locker room would be sitting there looking around of like, well, we did beat Ole Miss 37-24, but it was more Bobby in the offense. Really wasn't PIttman. And so I'm not going to contribute to that. I'm just going to be, listen, everyone gets the credit. When we win, everyone gets the credit. And when we lose, we'll find a scapegoat. But everyone's going to win on this one. And so I definitely don't think we should be like drawing the line of like who we celebrate, who we're happy for. And that's again where it comes back to, what do you want as a Razorback fan? Do you really want your team to win? Because if you do, you will accept that no matter what that means. You will accept that 8-0 starter, that 3-0 starter, that playoff, however it comes. If it means you win every game 3-2, or if it means you have a high-flying offense, that's all because of Bobby Petrino.
Yep, exactly. And I also do believe that, since I know you're the baseball guy, but hey, baseball more so than anything is about individual achievement. I mean, that's what you do is it's individual basis of, hey, it's that pitcher throwing you as a hitter the ball. And and then when you hit the ball, it's up to that fielder it's about the individual achievement. But it's the same concept of, you can have players that you can feel good about that you're always going to have a chance. Like with Kevin Kopps when he was here, it's like, hey, as long as we got Kevin Kopps, we got a chance. But it's, you can have Kevin Kopps, but you don't win if you don't score. If you don't hit the ball, you got to have people step up. You also had really good players this past year. I mean, we talked about it yesterday. It's like, honestly, maybe the greatest team that Dave Van Horn's ever had as far as talent wise and depth and everything. And Aviva Aloy won the Golden Spikes, but I mean, it was also about other guys stepping up. It's a team effort, and it's the same thing with coaches. But it's just a matter of trying, if you have a certain notion about a coach or a player or whatever that you don't like, and I get it, and then they have success, it's really hard to revert yourself back. It's hard to be like, but I wanted this guy gone. And what do I do here? I get it. But you got to let that go a little bit if it means giving you, as your team, your favorite team, the joy of winning, because it's hard to touch that. It's hard to get anywhere close to that.
And that's what makes team sports, not to get like sentimental and weird here, but like that's what makes team sports special, is that you really do need everyone. It's a village, and obviously, there's 100 and whatever players. Obviously, some players contribute more to that than others. But I remember as a freshman in high school, John, I was a freshman wide receiver, and I only played football 1 year in high school because I hated it, and I wasn't good at it. I was better at baseball. But I remember one time during we were about to play a big game, and they called me and my buddy over, and I was like, oh, crap, the head coach is calling us over. We're doing something cool. They gave us a ball, and we ran down the line, and the entire defense ran towards us, and it was like a drill where they were like, hey, we want to practice running the football. I want all 11 guys to come and not hit this guy, but come and touch this guy. I want all 11 guys. And so that was our contribution for that week. We ran down the sideline, and the entire starting defense came and plowed us over. But I just remember when they won that Friday night, I was like, dude, I contributed to that. And in a serious note, though, like, everyone is going to have to, if you're going to accomplish something great as a team, whether it's baseball, football, or whatever, it might be 3rd and 7 against Arkansas State. We need this guy to come up with a sack. Or, hey, it's 3rd and 4. We need this guy to catch a pass just this one time. He might not catch the pass in the national title game. He might not catch the pass against Texas. But at some point, we're going to need all of you guys to step up. And that's what I love about baseball. You've got your midweek games. We need someone to go out there and pitch that 3rd and 4th inning against UAPB. We also need someone to close the 9th inning against LSU. You need it all. And I think that's what makes it cool is, like, when you accomplish something, again, we don't all look back and say, well, now who did the best? Who accomplished the most? Who should really get credit for this? Because when you win, everybody wins. And, like, you can have a team that hates each other. You go win on Friday night, Saturday night, all of a sudden y'all are all partying together. Y'all are all at the same function celebrating. And that's what it's all about, honestly.
Yeah, it's even the fans too. If it's a home game, you don't think the fans don't give themselves a little bit of credit? Hey, we contributed to that.
100%. And they should feel that way.
Yes, exactly right. Exactly right. Let's go ahead and get into the chat and check the vibes presented by our friends over at Basis Health, where they're changing the way healthcare is delivered by providing mobile medical visits to the comfort of your very own home. A doctor will come to your home for urgent care, primary care, IV hydration, and so much more. Basis Health, they are here for you when and where you need them the most. You can learn more at basishealth.org today. Shout out to our guy Dre for being partners with us here at Inside Arkansas. All right, so go ahead and get into the chat. We appreciate everybody tuning in here on this Friday. And as a reminder, real quick, Inside Arkansas football pregame tomorrow, 9 a.m. Given all of our predictions, bowl predictions, all that great stuff. Post-game show, going to have all the content happening this weekend. So be sure to be on the lookout for that and check that out. All right, so shout out to Fishman. Got to get to the super chats first because I'm not crazy about Sam. What does ATP mean?
I think that's at this point.
Okay. I see ATM is at this moment, but at this point, okay, whatever. It says just on a human level, it would be cool if he could turn this thing around because we all know he's a really good person. You know what? Honestly, truly, that would be like the greatest story to this year, I think, of Sam PIttman having a great year. When I say great year, I'm talking about 8, 9, 10 wins, and then him saying, I'm retiring. Now, I'm not saying I want him to go if he wins 10 games, like, because you're like, dude, you won 10 games, you get to come back. But if that's the way he wanted to leave, if he wanted to leave on that note and retire down to Lake Hamilton, dude, you deserve it. We love you. You're going to be so welcome back. You're the man. All the praise and credit to you. Good job, Sam PIttman. Like, if that would be such a cool story of him fighting all this stuff and having to deal with all this stuff and be like, I'm ending on a high note. Peace out. You can find me at Lake Hamilton. I would love that for him.
It would be awesome. It really would. And I think there's something to be said about, a standard that we all have to hold everything to. And sometimes people fall below that standard and we hold them accountable. And some people enjoy holding people accountable more than others. Like, I used to have a buddy who hated Lamar Jackson. And anytime Lamar would have a bad game, and not as much these days, but like in his second year, anytime Lamar would have a bad game, he's like, oh, see, Lamar. And then I'd be like, dude, why are you hating on Lamar? He's like, oh, I'm just calling it how I see it. I'm like, why do you only call it how you see it when it goes bad? Like, why do you not call it how I see it when it goes well? But I think there's something to be said about what is the ceiling for Sam PIttman at Arkansas. And we don't really know what that is. I mean, we've seen him go 9-4. Maybe that is the ceiling. Maybe it's a little bit higher than that. Maybe at this point it's even lower than that. But I think, to your point of what would be the coolest way for this to play out, whatever that ceiling is, and only Sam PIttman and only really maybe God knows, but Sam PIttman having something close to whatever that ceiling is, whether that's at 8-4, 9-3, I don't know. Him having the best season he can and then going out that way is the way that everyone wins. Because then if you say, you know what, I think Sam PIttman's an idiot. So even when they win, I'm still a little bit annoyed because I know he's an idiot. Even those people would be happy with, okay, he did the best possible job and then dipped out. I think that would be a great way for it to end. And it would kind of appease everyone. Of course, life never works out that way, so it's not going to happen. But I'm with you. I think that would be cool. And I that's part of why I felt like they should have parted ways with them last year.
Yeah.
It's because I was like, listen, you can leave on this kind of not a positive, happy note of winning the Liberty Bowl, but it's like that's, you can get it can end a lot worse than that. And that was kind of my fear, is that it is going to end worse than that. But I'm cool with anything. If Arkansas finishes above 6-6, and then Sam wants to dip out after that, that would be like a home run for me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it would be also, you're going to have to play out this way, but how just picture perfect it would be if you went 9-3. We'll just say that. Say if you went 9-3, but you beat Missouri at the end of the regular season to finally get that monkey off your back. You finally stop that bleeding. You beat them. I think it would be just so awesome if in the post-game press conference or on the radio or whatever, everyone's celebrating. You're about to get a great bowl game to, I don't know where you would go at that point. You may be in the playoff conversation, but 9-3, we'll see. So you end up going to what? Maybe would it be the Outback Bowl again? Would it be the Citrus Bowl? Whatever it is. But PIttman comes in there and is just like, listen, I want everybody to know that this is awesome. This is great, but the bowl game will be my last game as the Razorback head coach. I'm going to and then leading up to that bowl game, whatever it may be, it would be praising. It'd be fun. It'd be exciting. This, again, I'm not saying that I want the guy to go if he wins 9-10 games. He deserves to come back. But if PIttman does want to retire and wants to move on, it would be the great story, because he left the program in a lot better shape than what he found it. And that's the most important thing. Let's see a few other chats here too, because a lot of these we've already talked about. We appreciate it. Everybody jumping in on this. Counts just says, surprised by how much the spread has moved in our favor.
I am a little bit. I mean, because you don't really see 4 points worth of movement. Sometimes I'll see a line at 7.5, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if I can get it at 7 later in the week. This goes 10 to 6.5. Like that is notable. I am surprised by that, but based on all the conversations I've seen happening publicly and all the national people who have kind of circled Arkansas as a potential underdog sleeper this weekend, a lot of people that I really respect. I mean, Bud Elliott, who I think is like maybe the best national college football gambler in the world, he has Arkansas money line in a lot of things this week. Like he's all in on Arkansas. So all that I've seen, because that's how these lines move. They don't just move because the odds makers are like, who's a better football team? When the money starts coming in, that's when those lines move. And so it does kind of track, but still 4 points is pretty insane line movement for any game.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I know we'll talk probably more about this on our pregame show tomorrow with SARACEN, but I'm just telling you right now, they have some specials. Folks, first Razorback drive result ending in a touchdown is plus 250. Hammer that.
I like that.
Hammer that, dude. It's Bobby. And that's not saying, Arkansas has to get the ball first to do it. No, like just the first time they get an offensive possession, give me that. Give me a touchdown. But how about this? If they have a turnover, Ellis, or turnover on downs or a safety, it's plus 450. So
turnover on downs, safety.
Yep, plus 450. And then how about this? Field goal attempt, not a field goal make. Field goal attempt plus 400.
That might be my bet.
Dude, I'm putting on touchdown and field goal attempt. Putting both of those. Yeah,
they're 100% going to 3 and out, John.
I know. Well, punt.
Or they'll get to like the 42 and then punt down to the 4.
Sam PIttman, I'll be so mad. But punt's minus 115. So probably don't want to do on that. But either way, some good spots there on Bet Saracen.
You say minus 115
for punt?
That's crazy. That's disrespectful.
It really is. It really is. So, Red Wolf vibe. Okay, you have an Arkansas State fan now again, besides John Beckman. How about that? I mean, unless he changed his name. He says there's a lot of talk about Ole Miss's D line. One dude is 6'8".
Yeah, Red Wolf vibe has been in here basically hammering the Arkansas State sucks, so you guys still suck.
Cool.
That's been his bit this week. Great. I will say, has there been that much talk about the Ole Miss D line? Because I got to say, like last year, I thought Ole Miss's D line was like top 5 in the country. Like I thought Ole Miss had a real defense last year, and I'm not saying they don't this year, but I think that's actually an area. Their defense has graded out solid. They've been okay. But I mean, they gave up like 180 rushing yards to Kentucky. That's something that, like, I think if Arkansas can't run the ball tomorrow, I'm going to be like a little disappointed.
Yeah. Through 2 games, again, just 2 games, but through 2 games, Ole Miss is the worst team in the SEC in rush defense. So just take that into consideration. They're like, even if you played, because they haven't played juggernauts either. I know Kentucky's definitely better than any team that Arkansas has played, but they're also one of the teams that were picked to finish near last in the SEC, and they ran on Ole Miss. So don't think that that's going to be. I feel like that's going to be a huge part of the game plan for Arkansas.
I think when we talk about Arkansas's O-line against the D-line, everyone views it from a pass rush standpoint. And weirdly, with this offensive line and the moves they made this offseason, the pass protection has been great. I mean, they've only allowed like 6 pressures all year. I know, not great teams. I'm much more concerned about, can they get a push in the run game? I was actually looking at a number, John, the other day. Arkansas's rushing. So I don't know how many yards total. I think Arkansas has like 500-something rushing yards through 2 games. Over 140 of it is right side, outside, past the right tackle. Almost 150 of it is left side, past the left tackle. And then about 140 of it is Taylon Green scrambling. And so you do all that, you add it up, there's not that many yards that Arkansas has picked up on the ground that have been just turn around, go behind the right guard, go behind the center, up the middle, run the ball. They've been running the ball out on the edges and kind of interesting. So I'm like, what is that going to look like in the SEC? Can they turn around and get those yards against Ole Miss? I think that's something that not many people are talking about.
Well, this is going to be my Bobby Petrino standing that I'm going to do, but I think that just goes to show you if Petrino's like, hey, this team that we have, the units, the players that we have, that's what they're good at. So we got some good tackles out there that can handle this. We got running backs that can stretch it out. We got all that. So it's always about that.
I'm not going to ask this fish to climb a tree, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Also, hey, shout out to Emmett Neal Sr., Mr. Neal. He says Arkansas is an older unit, 50 new guys. This new college landscape will benefit Arkansas to win now. And that's the idea. And I agree with you. It's been the idea that if any team that could be helped from it, it would be Arkansas. It's just a matter of having, guys that are the right guys experience. And I'm not hating on this kid at all. So don't take it that way. But, it's like just the guy from last year that was on the D-line that coming in that from Liberty, was it? That everybody was thinking was so great. And he was like,
he came from
Albany. Thank you. Yeah, Anton. Yes, sorry, all over the place. Anton Junkosh. Not hating on the kid, but he was an older player that was supposed to come in, and he really didn't have that impact. So it's just a matter of getting the right experienced players in there too. Like, yeah, you got to have experience, but getting dudes that can handle the SEC, getting dudes that can handle being in that situation. Because I think a great example of that also is John Ridgeway. That John Ridgeway came from D3 or whatever. Isaac Teslaw came from D3. Sometimes you can transcend that a little bit, but you got to get the right guys in.
I think we're still kind of figuring out how to view things. Because you remember back in the day, how would you determine if a team was going to be good? You would look at their record last year, returning starters do they have, and kind of what their coach, the trajectory, because that's how we viewed things. Bobby Petrino, his first year at Arkansas, they go 5-7 or 4-8 or whatever. Then they, have a little bit of improvement. They're 7-5. Okay, now they're moving up. Now they're 10-2. And it's like, that's how you determine. That's the lens we view things through. And it's just not. We can compare to last year all we want. 80% of these guys, a lot of the guys that are playing, have nothing to do with last year. Julian Neal, nothing to do with last year. Kanai Walker, nothing to do. All the receivers, nothing to do. O-line, nothing to do. And so it's like, we still as fans try and process things of like, well, they did this last year and now they have this guy. So how does that work? And it's like, really, every year is kind of different. The only thing I will say is that Arkansas's had veterans pretty much all these years of the Sam PIttman era. Like, they haven't been a young team in a while, I don't think.
As I'm trying to think of the last time they needed like a true freshman or somebody like that to really step up. I mean, Braylon Russell last year was one of the few like true freshman players that got some run.
I hate to say it, this actually is not the first time that a player's father has come into our chat and said, hey, this is an older team, and that's why they're going to be good, because Andrew Armstrong's dad said they were going to the playoff, and that was his reasoning is, hey, we got a lot of older guys, you know. So not disagreeing, but I will say this is not the first time this has happened. Yeah,
and I'll go and take it. Hey, if you beat Ole Miss tomorrow, then, there's going to be some justification to that as well, for real. A few more here, too. Let's see. Trey Parks Arch is like, how awesome would it be to beat Ole Miss, lose to Memphis, and beat Notre Dame? That wouldn't be awesome. That'd be weird. But
I don't know if that would be awesome. That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Would you sign up for that? Like right now, if a genie came to you and was like, I can grant you wins over Ole Miss and wins over Notre Dame, you just have to take this L against Memphis, not knowing how it's going to play out. Would you say, let me just see how it plays out, or would you sign up for that?
I'd sign up for that.
I think I would too, actually. Honestly, as much as I said it's not awesome, I probably would sign up for that because it would be funny.
Yeah, because you'd be 1-0 in SEC play. and you would win your biggest home game of the season in the first time you played Notre Dame, and you're 4-1. Yes, even if losing to Memphis would be stupid and dumb, and it would be annoying, but it wouldn't be. Yeah, give me that right now. Like, what would be if you were going to win 2 of the 3, who would be the team? Or if you're only going to win 2 of the next 3, who would be the one team that you would lose to that would be the most like? Would it be Ole Miss? Would it be Notre Dame?
I think I would still. I think it would be Memphis is still the one. Like, I don't know. I'd probably. I don't know. Beating Notre Dame at home is such a thing.
Yes,
and it would be such a moment.
And then
would it be the same if you had lost to Ole Miss and Memphis or something like that? I don't know.
Yeah, because then Ole Miss is an SEC team, so it's like you want to win your SEC games.
Yeah, I'd probably beat Ole Miss and lose to Notre Dame if the 2 things I had to choose.
Yeah, but then at the same time, the Notre Dame's a home game. It's like you want to do it in front of your home fans. I don't know. That's a very interesting situation.
But John, as we've pointed out, if Arkansas beats Ole Miss, and then if whatever happens against Memphis, like we are going to spend a lot of time with a lot of excitement, and people will be fired up. People will be doing victory. I mean, people are doing victory laps already. There's like a lot of people already in the chat who were like, "I told you they were going to be good." And it's like, well, let's find out. Let's
find out. Yeah, and also, I went. By the way, just out of curiosity, I went into the since Arkansas is going to be playing Memphis next week in the Liberty Bowl. Do you know how many points actually Arkansas is averaging when playing in the Liberty Bowl this century in the past 25 years?
I mean, so see, they scored like 31, 34 in 2009. They scored 38, I believe, in 2015. Scored like 50 something in 2022. And then what they score last year? What was the final of that game? It's over 40 though.
Yes, it's like
42.
It's 43 and a half. At least I could have done my math wrong on that.
And the last 2 are carrying a lot of that.
Yeah.
Like if you just cut it to the last 10 years or last 8 years or whatever, it's high.
Well, because what was it? Was it triple overtime they went to Kansas? Was it triple overtime?
Double or triple? I can't. I think it got to the point where it's 2-point conversions.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it had to be triple. But yeah, it was triple overtime. So yeah, because Arkansas had 39 last year, 55 in 2022. They had 45 in 2016 against Kansas State. 45.
What was the final? It was 45-23. Is that what it was?
Yeah, 45-23. What's funny is they only had 20 against East Carolina.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, I guess my math might be on.
That game was freezing cold, man. I can't even believe anybody played in that game.
Yeah, that game sucked, but Arkansas won. Alex Tejada redemption for the game-winning field goal. All right, a few more chats here, too, because we're going to have Dudley. He's not going to join us live, but we have a little quick recruiting update, a couple minutes that we're going to get into for the weekend goes that we'll play for you, and then we'll come back and talk about some other stuff going on in Razorback land, as well as some other things, too. Let's see. Trey Parks Argo says, what if Taylor Green throws 6 picks tomorrow and Arkansas loses 28-20? Is it KJ time?
So,
question
one, this is just hilarious that like we have some people in the fan base who are like, Taylor should win the Heisman, and if you don't think he's winning the Heisman, I hate you. Then you also have some that are like, hey, are we 1 game away? I'm going to be honest, John. If Taylor throws 6 picks and Arkansas loses in that fashion, I still don't think he gets benched. My reasoning for that is that Nick Starkel didn't get benched after throwing 5 picks, and that was in a much tighter QB battle. And the question you always have to ask, if you're going to go to your backup quarterback, and you have to ask yourself, why would the backup be better than the starter? And sometimes you can make a case for that. No matter what Taylor does, what is the case for KJ Jackson? Other than just like, hey, I'm mad at Taylor and I hate him, so let's bench him. Like, I don't think there's a case to be made for KJ, at least not right now with Taylor Green being healthy, even if he turns the ball over 6-7 times.
Yeah, that's it's like just giving me deja vu from last year with the Malachi Singleton situation. It's like it's the same deal. Also, Omri, I just wanted to get this because we're talking about the jerseys last night. He's like, are we going with the white helmet, white? I guess assume this means white helmet, white jersey, red pants. Wish it was white.
I bet they go with the red helmet, white everything else.
Yeah, I think so too.
I hope I would love for them to go white, all white. I would be cool with that. As you know, I would much rather them go with the red pants, red helmet.
Me too.
That's just me, but
me too.
I could see a white out. I think they've whited out at Ole Miss before.
Yeah. The only thing about the whiteout is I'm going to be that guy, but it's like, I don't like the whiteout going at a place to where they kind of like have white as such a distinguishing color, which I know everyone has like white in their jerseys. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like Ole Miss definitely does white. They do a lot of white on their jerseys and whatnot. But since they're doing a stripe out, I assume the stripe out coloring will match with whatever jerseys they're going to wear. So maybe they're going to wear the red jerseys. Ole Miss will. The red jerseys and powder blue helmets or something. I don't know.
What I learned yesterday playing the game is that Ole Miss's pants, they don't have a ton of, like, they don't have a red pant. I don't even think they have a navy pants, or at least it's not on the game. I think it's just white and gray. And so it's like that does kind of change it a little bit. That's why I kind of want Arkansas to go with the Reds. Red, white, red. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, David says, did Locked On Ole Miss really compare Lacey to DMC? Was he serious? Not serious, but here's the deal. Is like, I'll defend him a little bit. He was just saying the way that he ran as far as being upright and the fact that he was wearing number 5. Like, that was it. He was not comparing talent or speed or anything like that. Although, that's I know he was kind of doing that to mess, but no, he was not legitimately saying that their running back is Darren McFadden or even comparable as far as talent. It was just the style of running and the fact that he wears number 5. That was it. So, because like, who is the random question before we do our player recruiting update with Dudley? It'll just be a few minutes, but like, who is the player that gets way over the top exhausting in Arkansas, at least football, of comparisons? That some people will just be like, oh, he's just like this guy, or I compare him to this player. Because I feel like there's a lot of that happens in every fan base. But I was trying to think of in football, like, who would be the one that just always gets referenced and we're like, hey, we got to settle down with this.
I feel like there's a receiver. I think that any receiver from the Petrino era, people love to look at any skill set whatsoever. And because of those 4 guys, there's 4 kind of different body types, skill sets. Anytime Arkansas has an athletic receiver, it's like Joe Adams, Joe Adams. And then anytime Arkansas has a 6'3" guy, they're like Greg Childs. Interesting. I'm trying to think though. I feel like there's got to be one that I'm just completely missing. I haven't heard anybody compared to D-Mac. You know what I mean? I've never heard an Arkansas fan be like, hey, this running back reminds me of D-Mac. Defensively, is there anybody like?
I would say maybe. I think a lot of people may try to bring up Trey Flowers, but not in the same way of like, oh, this guy's just like it, but because he just gets referenced so much as far as like, oh, this guy could be our Trey Flowers. Like, oh, this guy needs to be Trey Flowers just because he was so dominating that year.
I'll tell John, actually, I know the answer to this. As crazy as it sounds, Kevin Kopps is the answer.
Oh, in baseball,
every single baseball season since 2021, I've had a fan ask me at least once, and some years more than others, could this guy be like another Kevin Kopps? And I'm like, no. The answer is always no. Mere weeks ago, someone asked, they were like, could they use Ethan McIlvain kind of, like the Kevin Kopps? I'm like, no, that is never going to be the standard for, and even if that situation plays out where you wind up having a guy like that, even that year, 2021, Arkansas did not go into that year saying, this is our plan for Kevin Kopps. We're going to use him in the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th inning, twice on the weekend. Like, that's a very unique set of circumstances with a 12th year senior who is 28. That is never going to happen again. Kevin Kopps, every single year since he's been at Arkansas, I've had at least one person, Cole Ramage, people were like, Kevin Kopps? Kevin Kopps?
Yeah. Let's just stop that. I will say the one before we get to a recruiting update. It's not the main comparison, but I think that there are some people that like to talk about Matt Jones. Like, if a quarterback can run, okay, how many times have we heard Taylor Green get compared to Matt Jones with his because he's 6'6", he can run, but gets comparison to that. I think that there's that element. I will say it's not necessarily Arkansas in a comparison, but I always loved the response. Drew Morgan, everybody just like, oh, he's just like a Wes Welker, just like a Wes Welker. And I remember one time he's just like, I wonder why everyone thinks I'm just like Wes Welker. Like, why am I like Wes Welker? And it was like, yeah, well, because you're, just your play, of course. It's like, no, it's because he's a white guy out there on the outside. So it's like those types of things are also dumb where it's just has nothing to do with the skills. It's just like, well, this guy kind of looks like him, so therefore it has to be him. Is this not the case?
Since Curtis is here, I have to make the case for our boy JD Note. I haven't heard it. Like there's been a couple times where people have been like, "Oh, this guy could be like," but JD Note is such an archetype of the small scoring guard who takes a ton of shots. I mean, Wade Taylor at A&M is literally, that's JD Note like. So there will be no shortage of guys that we could say, or especially because if you have a guy that comes off the bench and is a good scorer for you, we're going to say, hey, he's kind of like JD Note. Then if you have a guy who's a 6'2" guard that shoots a lot, oh, he's kind of like JD Notae, you know? So it's like, I think JD Notae is going to be a guy that for years to come, anytime Arkansas has a good 6-man or a good scoring point guard, we're going to compare him to JD Notae.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a JD Notae one. Actually, I want to take it this step further. How about this for football? I'll do this live read real quick, and then we'll get to this question because I think it's fun to kind of discuss this. But I want to remind everybody, Walter Christmas Lighting of Arkansas. They're one of our favorite sponsors here. We love all of our sponsors, but we love the lighting. We love the holiday seasons, and there's nothing that brings more joy besides Razorback victories, of course, than having your house set up for the holiday season. It can be Halloween or it can be Christmas. They are the ones that's going to help you out. Don't even worry about it. They're going to install it for you. They're going to put the lights in the color that you want with the materials that you want. And if a light strand goes out, don't worry. You give them a call and they'll come out there for free and be able to do maintenance on it. And so what the cool thing about it is the week of the Notre Dame game leading up to that Friday when we're at Alumni Hall, we're going to do a giveaway. One of you lucky people out there in Northwest Arkansas or in the River Valley, you're going to get a free holiday lighting from Walter Christmas Lighting of Arkansas. So we'll give you details on that. But if you want to get an estimate, a free estimate, text our guy Brett, 479-459-1380. That's 479-459-1380. And if you end up getting Halloween lights and you love it, which you will, you want to do the Christmas lights on top of that? 50% off for the Christmas lights if you do the Halloween lights. It's that simple. So give, again, our guy Brett a text today, 479-459-1380. It's Walter Christmas Lighting of Arkansas, your local holiday lighting experts. So Andrew, just as far as players goes, we were talking about comparisons and all that. Like Darren McFadden is one that I think Razorback fans are going to be like, hey, you can't, there's no comparison. But you know, there's also some players that cannot, and I'm not saying like won't, but cannot have comparisons. Peyton Hillis is also going to be one of those guys where I'm like, I don't know if you'll ever see a player that's just, built physically like that. Or Matt Jones. Like there's some players that you just, even if you try to compare them because of their physical prowess, it's just like Traylon Burks is another one where I'm like, man, I don't know if Arkansas will ever have somebody built like that at wide receiver.
Yeah, and I think also with Peyton Hillis and Matt Jones to an extent, because Matt Jones was, of course, a product in a bad way of the offensive football. Like coordinators did not know what to do with a guy like Matt Jones back then. Whereas today, if an offensive coordinator had Matt Jones, they would be like, oh, I'm running a read option every play. We're going to get QB power. We're going to do all this stuff. Back then, it was just like, I guess we should get in the I formation. What? I don't know what to do here. Peyton Hill is another one that the physicality of just the way he played going to be hard to replicate. But also, are you ever going to see a fullback be that prominent in an offense? Also, from a pass catching standpoint, Arkansas ran a lot of pass. Like he was a very big receiver for that team out of the fullback spot. It is just a unique set of circumstances. That's a good call. I think Peyton Hillis is something, not that he's like this incomparable human being or anything, but in which, I guess he is because he is a hero. I mean, he did save someone's life. And he had a nice little ground out with the Savannah Bananas the other day. But it's just, I just don't think you're going to see that set of circumstances play out again. I think the same could be said for Matt Jones. And then physically, Traylon Burks is definitely going to be up there. Although I will say, nowadays, these athletes are built different, bro. Like in 4 years, Traylon Burks is going to be like nothing. You know what I mean? Because I think there was a time where we were like, man, when are we ever going to see a 6'6" guy run a 4.4? And like that, those kind of guys are starting to exist again. I mean, Cam Newton existed. You know what I mean? Like there are these just freaks athletically who just pop out of nowhere.
Well, and also another one too that maybe doesn't get all the respect or should, but like the Sean Andrews and Jason Peters type players, like those just dudes that are 300 plus pounds, but could play basketball because they're so athletic and can move. It's kind of like, I'm not comparing them this way. It was like Shaquille O'Neal. Like you're never going to see another Shaquille O'Neal, a dude that can move like that, being 7'2" and 400 pounds or whatever. I mean, you're just not going to see it. So it just doesn't happen very often. But yeah, there's a few of them there that you could throw it in there too.
I will say, since we're talking about this, Kevin Durant is a guy that for years, every single prospect who was long and rangy, could he be like KD maybe? It's like, no, he's not going to be like KD.
No, not at all. Not at all. Let's see. Real quick, Evan Baker says, do you think Washington will get a lot more carries? I think they sat him for a whole quarter last week. I think the game plan is to get the rushing attack going and kind of try to attack it a little bit. So, yeah, I think that Washington, I think he ended up with 9 carries last week. So I would bet, as long as he stays healthy, I bet money that he's probably going to get double-digit carries in this one.
I think so. I'm trying to think. I can't remember if it's 16, 17, or 18 total carries on the year that Mike Washington has had. I think it's 17. I think it's possible he matches that in this game. Now, to your point, Evan, they have sat him for almost an entire quarter. And I get, obviously, when the game gets out of hand, you don't want your running back. But it's been like late second quarter, early third. Like they've seemed to have gone to a plan. Now, of course, they probably knew they were going to blow out both the teams they played. I would love to see Mike Washington get more consistent workload. And I wish there wouldn't be times where he touches the ball and I'm like, oh, yeah, there he is. I completely forgot about him. Plus, I got to be honest, I just think there's a huge drop-off in production and capability when you go from Mike Washington to Braylon Russell. Not that Braylon's a bad player, but Mike Washington's averaging 12 yards a carry. Braylon Russell's averaging 4, and they have similar amounts of carries on the year. It's like, I know it's not that simple. It's a small sample size, but it's like, I just think when you have a running back who's substantially better than the other one, I think it's okay to assign your workload accordingly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think the same thing. I think that's completely fair to do it that way. And at the end of the day, too, it's always going to be about, hey, I don't care how you do it as long as you win. If it's Braylon Russell carrying it, great. If it's Rodney Hill, great. I just, as long as you win, that's all that matters in the end. I
will also say, I don't want to make there to be any confusion. I'm not upset about them limiting Mike Washington's workload against Alabama A&M and Arkansas State. I have the same question, Evan, of like, all right, now that we're playing a real game against a real team, that has to end now, right? Like if he has 9 carries in this game and he's averaging 7 yards a pop, I'm gonna be like, what the hell? Why didn't you get him 15?
Mm-hmm. No, I'm the same way. Last one too, real quick. Says from Razorback fan 1111. I don't know if we've ever seen her in our chat before. I guess this might be a new one. So she says, I do have a great feeling about this game. My nerves will be shot. LOL, being a Hog fan is hard. The reason I wanted to bring this up is because that's how I feel like just Razorback fans are the same way. The ones that have the great feeling, you have a great feeling, but you're nervous about having that great feeling. You're very nervous about it. So it's an emotional pretzel that you put yourself in.
I mean, one of my best buddies yesterday called me and he was telling me that him and his wife closed on a house and, they're very excited. It's his first time buying a house. And he was like, man, I'm so excited. And then he was like, but as soon as we agreed to terms, I'm like, crap, what's wrong with this house? Yeah. Why did I get this deal? And I think there's a lot of Hog fans who in gambling wise, as a gambler, I'm always on edge about that, where I'm like, this seems too obvious. Like this team's clearly better. Like for instance, Clemson this weekend is a -3 favorite over Georgia Tech. And Clemson has not looked good in their first 2 weeks, but I'm like, why am I getting this line at -3? There has to be something going on here. And I'm kind of at that point with Arkansas where I'm like, it makes a lot of sense that Arkansas would cover the spread in this game. The line is moving. Money's coming in on the Hogs. That's usually a good sign. It feels like a trap to me, but I love that it's 6 p.m. and we have all day Saturday to do these mental gymnastics, change our minds 5 or 6 times. And that's peak college football, man.
Yeah. And last thing I've always used this as my comparison. I can say, cause I'm the single guy, but it's kind of like, you can go into a bar or whatever and be walking tall and feeling confident, like, all right, I look good. And then an absolute 10 supermodel status girl comes up to you and starts flirting with you and talking with you really interested. You're like, what's happening here? Like, why are you doing this? That's kind of how I think Razorback fans feel of, you may feel good, but then you start having success and you start having these great feelings. You're like, what's happening? Why? Are you okay? Is something wrong with you? Did you lose a bet? Like it starts playing that way, but you still got to get excited about it. All right. So we're going to get to our recruiting update real quick. And of course, it's presented by our friends over at Goat Lab Brewery and Goat Lab Red there in Fayetteville. It's a great place, folks, to not only watch the games, but also pregame, postgame, but also watch Inside Arkansas Live, because they play it each and every weekday starting at noon for their lunch. And they're doing a really cool thing this weekend where they're calling it Progressive Wing Night during the Arkansas and Ole Miss game. So the wings that they have, which are phenomenal wings, by the way, they start at a discount price. After every score, the price drops by the score amount until the wings are free. All right. So when the Hogs scores, it counts double. So here's the rules. Arrive before kickoff. You got to get there before kickoff right there at 1214 North Garland Avenue. And when you purchase your first set of wings, 6 wings at the initial discount price of $1 a wing. And then after each price drop, you must purchase at least 2 wings. And when wings hit free, eat all that you want. I mean, it's all you can eat. You just can't take anything to go. You got to sit there and be there at Goat Lab Red, which you wouldn't want to leave anyway. It's a great spot. You must finish your wings before ordering more. No sharing. Don't be one of those people, it's trying to benefit from it. And the Goats reserve the right to say no wings for you if you abuse this deal or misbehave. So you better be on your best behavior. I know all of you will be when you go over there, but can't have a better deal than this than progressive wing night. So if you need a place to watch the Arkansas Ole Miss game, head over to Goat Lab Red in Fayetteville at 1214 North Garland. You'll have to check it out. It's an awesome spot. Plenty of TVs, all the great drinks. Make it happen with Goat Lab Red. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get to our recruiting update with our guy, Dudley Dawson.
Covering recruiting and the transfer portal for the Razorbacks. This is Inside Arkansas Recruiting with Dudley Dawson.
It's Dudley Dawson of Inside Arkansas Recruiting. Wanted to pop in here on a Friday and give a couple of updates. Obviously, the biggest news this week in Arkansas recruiting was offensive lineman Bryce Gilmore, the Razorbacks' top 2026 recruit in the class. Decommitted and is going to take a look at Ole Miss, Penn State, some other schools that he had as finalists early on. You know, I'm sure Arkansas will continue to try to recruit him, but we all know that very rarely does somebody decommit and then hop back in the boat. That could be why Arkansas offered Jermaine Mitchell, a Miss State offensive line commit from Copiah Lincoln Community College, 6'8", 310, nice size for the SEC. That could be a guy who fills that role, or they could got to take a look at the transfer portal as they go along. They also offered a defensive lineman from Birmingham, Alabama, Ramsey, another nice size young man, 6'3", 305, Carlos May, who is in that 2027 class. Also a couple of tight ends, Jordan Karnoff from Columbus, Ohio, and Kaz Loken from Iola, Scandinavia. So dipping into Wisconsin and Ohio for those couple of tight ends. Also Bodie Sparrow, who's an athlete, probably will play on the defensive side of the ball. Perryville, Utah Davis, 6'2", 180. Also in that 2027 class, and an offensive lineman named Kayan Hippo Woods, 2027 guy again, offensive lineman from Columbus, Texas. It is one of those situations where they, will continue to recruit as best they can. The loss of Bryce Gilmore knocked them down from 28 to 35 in 247 rankings. Also knocked them down from 11 to 13 in just the SEC rankings overall. That's obviously a disappointing week for them to have. They will try to go out and make up for it, but you're fighting uphill if you're already down at 13 and losing your best recruit. Best recruit now in the class, or at least highest ranked one, is Colton Yarborough, defensive end from Durant, Texas. We will continue to update you as recruiting news happens, and also be back next week with Inside Arkansas Recruiting shows. Hope to have some players and coaches on next week, and we'll also talk to some experts as we continue to go along.
All right, there was our Inside Arkansas Live recruiting update with Dudley Dawson, presented by friends over at Goat Lab. Really official stuff, too. You had the music playing. You had the beer flowing in the background. We're going to have one of those every Monday and Friday here on Inside Arkansas Live to make sure everybody knows about what the weekend happened and what's coming up in the weekend, too. So, and I'm glad Andrew got sat right in his chair. I mean, the second, because I was like, when he got up, I'm like, he might have to use the restroom. I'm going to time it. And he made it work, though. He made it work.
I was going to say, I was wondering if you were like getting nervous. My sink is 4 feet away from me right now, and I was washing my hands, and I heard Dudley starting to wrap up, and I'm like, let's speed this up real quick. But you're right. Got back right in time.
Yeah, listen, timing's everything in that. So, but we appreciate Goat Lab, appreciate Dudley doing the update. And again, check out Inside Arkansas Recruiting Podcast, as each and every week, Dudley will be bringing you some guests, bringing you some future commits, current commits, coaches, all that great stuff on his podcast. So be sure to check it out here with us at Inside Arkansas. All right, so a few other chats too. I did want to bring this up, which I know our guy Curtis isn't here, but still, it was some news. Dylan says, John and Andrew, will y'all be going to the tip-off tour in Hot Springs this year? For those of you that were unaware, Arkansas officially announced via a statement, because I guess it was called the tip-off tour last year, where they went to Hot Springs and to Pine Bluff before the year started. This year, they're just going to Hot Springs, and it's going to be happening on a tip-off scrimmage, October 12th, which is a Sunday at Bank OZK Arena at 3 p.m. So, I have a feeling somebody will be going to that, but I don't know. It depends on the timing and everything, but we may dabble down there into the Hot Springs spot.
Do we know for sure because last year it lined up with SEC Media Days in Birmingham, and so we were able to kind of just on our way there make it work. Do we know if we're going to have that kind of opportunity this year yet?
Not for sure. I do know though that SEC Media Days has been officially announced for as far as like what that is going to look like. I was trying to see where the dates are for that, but I'll have to look it up. But either way, if it does add up to that, then I'm sure that'll work out nicely. Because I believe that Sunday too. Is that after the A&M game? I think it is.
What is it? The A&M's October 18th.
Okay, so it's not that. Then did the Tennessee game? I mean, October 12th.
Tennessee's October 11.
Okay, so yeah, it's after the Tennessee game then. Okay, that makes sense. So either way, we'll figure it out. But we'll have some representation down there no matter what. It's cool though. It's cool. It's also $20 to get in per seat. I think it was $30 last year. But dropped the price a little bit, which is nice.
A ripoff. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
and the gym was a third full.
Yeah, it was not ideal. But I also like that they're saying, hey, here's a scrimmage. We're doing a scrimmage. This is what we're doing is a scrimmage. So
last year they didn't have enough guys healthy to even do that. They only had like 7 guys out there.
Yeah, which was crazy talk. But I think it's going to be fun to be down there. Okay, here we go. The basketball tip off. So there you go. Yep, Ellis. It's our the SEC Basketball Media Days is the 14th and 15th of October. So,
dude, I think that lines up kind of well. Where Sunday we take a little trip after the Tennessee game. We go down to Hot Springs, drive across the state or something. I don't know how our route will go because last year it was Pine Bluff that we stopped in. The route is a little bit different with Hot Springs.
Andrew, dude, I just saw this. They switched it up. It's not men and women. They have combined and intertwined all of it. Now there's like going to be 2 men's teams go and then 2 women's teams go. Like it's not men and women.
Oh, men and women are the same day. SEC Media Days?
Well, yeah, but it's still 2 days, but it's, yeah. And I think, I mean, let's be honest. We all know why, because people would show up for the men's days and then leave for the women's.
Yeah.
It's just what it is. So that's changed. That's interesting. Arkansas men will be going on, let's see where's that. Oh, okay. So that, actually, you know what? That does work out nicely because Arkansas men and women go both on Tuesday. So it's like, if you're going to cover Arkansas, you don't have to be there for 2 days. You just stay there for 1. So I guess, you know what? That's actually better. I do like that.
The question is, are we going to be able to kidnap Curtis for this trip?
Well, hopefully Michelle's not watching, but maybe we got something in place, maybe we already got the
the
heist
is already in motion.
Yes, the wheels are in motion. We're already going to do the heist to make it happen. But so yeah, I saw that because it's always been just men and women. It's at the same spot though, still in Birmingham, still at the Grand Bohemian Hotel and all that. But either way, we'll keep you updated on it. So the point is though, is like, yes, we'll probably be at the tip off since we'll be going down and making the trip anyways to Birmingham. Also, let's see, you got our Rogan Hog said, did y'all see that Arkansas is up to 17.5% chance to make the playoffs according to ESPN FBI? LOL. Yeah.
I did not. I saw this only because someone was yelling at us in the chat the other day about this. That is interesting, especially because the ESPN FBI didn't have Arkansas in the top 25 like 8 days ago. And now they're number like 17, 18 or whatever. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's always one thing that you scratch your head. You're like, what changed? What happened? What's the difference there? Don't really know. But we'll get to our final chats here and get to all your final topics and everything, folks. I want to remind everybody the Freedom Boat Club of Arkansas is going to have you covered. I know that summer is winding down. The weather may not feel like it right now. It's like almost 90 degrees out there. But when fall gets here, it's still a great time to go out on the lakes here in Arkansas. You get to see the natural beauty of everything that they have to offer when it comes to hot springs at Lake Hamilton, or if it's Greers Ferry Lake, or even down there on the river in Little Rock. You can be able to get a boat and access to a boat without all the commitments that you have to make, without all the hassle. They make it easy for you at Freedom Boat Club of Arkansas. And if you're somebody that wants to check it out, I encourage you because it is totally worth it for those of you who like to live out on the water, especially during any time of the year, but especially during this time of the year. Text Inside Arkansas, 2 words, Inside Arkansas to 501-270-6477. That's 501-270-6477 to get 50% off your initiation fee today. You can check out their website at freedomboatclubar.com as well. It's Freedom Boat Club of Arkansas, the great way to experience the lakes, the rivers, and the boating here in the great state of Arkansas. So, all right. So your final chats, few of your chats, folks. Again, appreciate everybody tuning in. The higher ed guy just says, hey, just want to say thank you guys for having a space to help escape the craziness of life right now. Sports is always meant to be a place of escape for a moment or two. And well, we appreciate that, higher ed guy, and definitely want to do that. It is crazy. And, I'm not going to go on a soapbox. I'm just saying things happen in everyone's lives in the world that are really crazy. And the inconsistent is sports has been that getaway for so many. So we're glad we can provide that and help out with that. Let's see. Also, our guy Robert Hurst wanted to read this. He says this game could definitely be a tone that are for the season, and I would imagine a win would increase the team's confidence by a ton. It would.
Yeah, the team's confidence is big because nobody comes out of fall camp thinking they're going to have a bad season. You think you're going to have a good season when you're coming out of fall camp, and then if you win the first game, hey, we're having a good season. 2, all right, hey, yeah, we're on track. You lose, all of a sudden that reality of like your place and where you might finish and what your season might look like. You start to consider other possibilities. But when you're winning, it's easy to just say, yeah, we're just going to keep winning forever.
That's right. Matthew just says, I love the times y'all are doing these live podcasts. It is a perfect time for my workout. So you're welcome. Hopefully it was a good workout. Hopefully we gave you the energy. Yeah, we kept you motivated, started screaming at you in motivational speeches. But we appreciate it, Matthew. Also, like this from Omery's, like I love it, but I love it for SET, but 63-7 is electric in remembrance of Curtis. It's like that Curtis is not dead. It's like in remembrance. It's like he's not dead. He's still around. Also, is electric like a Curtis phrase that he coined? Yep, it is. Yep, absolutely. I've only heard Curtis ever use that term. It's definitely Curtis. Let's see. Also, to Hogfan 40 ounce says Arkansas is playing a ranked SEC team at night at their house. A good performance and a loss could go a long way. So, okay. I don't necessarily disagree, but based on the narrative of Hog fans going into this game, I'm going to ask Hog fans, do you agree with that? That if Arkansas loses close, a good performance and a loss, is there a moral victory possibility in this game? I say no. But do you Hog fans feel like there is a moral victory path in this game? If they say so, then I'm going to be curious about why, but I'm not about moral victories in this one. I can't be. Both things can't be true. You can't say, hey, Arkansas is actually a better team than Ole Miss, and like they should be favored. They should be expected to win this game. And then also say, well, they lost and it was close. And the chat seems to be overwhelmingly no. Yeah. Because, again, it's a difference between saying, hey, it was a close game, but you lost. Therefore, the rest of the season is not lost. It's not like this. You don't have to say it as a moral victory, but you also don't have to look at the rest of the outlook of the season and be like, everything's awful and the team sucks. It's like, you don't have to do that, but you also don't be like, well, golly gee, that was great. They gave it their all. Nothing like that. I think the important part is the difference between Ole Miss. Like if this were LSU, if you're going into Baton Rouge, an LSU team that we've seen beat Clemson, an LSU team that we're pretty confident is good. Hell, even Texas, honestly, who I know people are down on, but like, that's a little bit different because I think those teams we're very confident are good teams. I don't think we are all very confident that like if you lose to Ole Miss, they are going to go on to be 9-3, 10-2, and it'll look good. I think there's a chance Ole Miss goes 7-5, 6-6. Mm-hmm. No, 100%. Also, to our Broken Hog says, I agree the transfer portal should be good for us, but we can't be leading the SEC in transfers every year and expect success. You should be plugging holes in the ship, not building it with the portal. This is an objectively correct take right here from Heartbroken Hog, who, credit to him, like he's as optimistic as anyone. He loves the Hogs and he wants them to win and expects them to do good. I don't understand why that concept is so hard for other people to grasp that like, hey, you can, have some things that are out of your control. You can let some guys walk. You should not be having 50 guys enter the portal and lead the SEC every single year. Like that's a little bit weird. And I definitely agree with you should be using the portal to supplement the already good core you have rather than building your entire team through the portal. Yeah, it should just be helpful. It shouldn't be everything. It shouldn't just be like, all right, forget anything else, just portal, and we'll lose all these other players and bring them all in. It's not like basketball. Like I'm not saying you can do it with basketball, but it's not like, oh, we just got to replace 4, 5, 6 guys and it'll be fine. It's like you're talking about like 100 players. Like you can't just do it that way. You got to have some sort of consistency and some sort of retention there, if that's the case. Just want to bring this up just because it corrects me. Like, all right, Andrew from WMF pick. Andrew, would you take a losing baseball season this year for a playoff run in football this year? You asked the absolute wrong person. Like me, hell no. Like not even close. I understand I'm probably in the minority. I'm sure there's a lot of people who would
But you're asking me, Andrew Ellis, who lives and breathes with Arkansas baseball? No, I would. They could literally shut down the football program if that meant Arkansas baseball won a national title. I'd sign up for that. You know what I mean? Like I would sacrifice everything for baseball. So you asked the wrong person for this. People? Yeah, I'm sure there was a lot of people that would take a losing baseball season just to have success in football. It's just not me.
Yeah. And so that would be my thing is I would only I would take it if it meant that, like, okay, but you're going to be back in business the next year. You know, like there's no
1 year hiatus.
Yes, just 1 year hiatus. I will 100% take as long as the next year you go back to Omaha and win it all. Like that's 100% I would do. But if it's like uncertain, don't know what happened, like, oh no, then yeah, I'm not gonna do that. So okay, well, Ellis, any final thoughts before we roll out of here for today?
No, my final thoughts are woo damn pig. And if you're bored and in the area today, in the Northwest Arkansas area, and you feel like skipping work, the Hogs are going to be playing some baseball at 3:05 at Baum-Walker Stadium. Our guy Cameron allegedly may or may not be there to keep some stats and see. We'll see. But some baseball takes are going to be on the horizon.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see Noah saying picks. Say your picks again. I missed it. Well, how about this, Noah? We have a pregame show for Inside Arkansas Football happening tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. where we're going to give our bowl predictions. We're going to give score predictions. We're going to look at some of the SARACEN prop bets. We're going to be looking at some players to challenge. We're going to have all that great stuff that you'll be able to check out tomorrow morning starting at 9 a.m. So be sure to tune in for that, and you'll get all that good stuff getting you ready for the football Saturday. So that's my final thought is we got that. We got post-game show. Going to have all the football content happening. We got Inside Arkansas recruiting going on right now. I know that Pod at the Palace and Bombastic will still always have that with all the updates going on with those sports too. And we have it going on right here. So be sure to tap in with us each and every day right here at Inside Arkansas by subscribing to us on our YouTube page. You can also check out all of our audio podcasts, wherever podcasts are found, especially with Spotify. And follow us on social media at Inside Arkansas as well. We got it going on. So appreciate each and every one of you listening in and watching in. For Andrew Ellis, as well as intern Cameron, I am John Neighbors. Same sports show, same sports channel. Next Monday, have a great weekend, everybody. But we'll see you tomorrow morning on Inside Arkansas pregame show.